On a warm June night in 1906, New York City shimmered with electric lights, music,
and the arrogant glamour of the Gilded Age atop the glittering Madison Square
Garden. Then not an arena, but a lavish
Beaux-Arts palace crowned by a rooftop theater. Crowd gathered for an evening of
performance, cocktails,
and the indulgent thrill of being seen.
They came for entertainment, but they would witness something else entirely. A murder so public, so shocking, and so entwined with secrets,
lust, and madness
that it would be remembered as one
of the most sensational killings in American history. This is the story of Stanford White, the
legendary architect whose genius helped shape modern New York, and of the
volatile young millionaire who shot him dead. A story of obsession, forbidden desire,
high society hypocrisy, and the woman whose beauty tied them together in a deadly knot. Tonight, we unravel the murder of Stanford White. Jealousy on Madison Square. Stanford White was, by every measure of his era, a titan.
Born in 1853, he rose to become one of America's most celebrated architects, a partner in the firm McKim,
Mead and White, responsible for masterpieces like the Washington Square Arch,
the Metropolitan Club, and Madison Square Garden itself. He moved easily among the elite, artists, industrialists, politicians, and the old money families who shaped American life. White was charming, magnetic, brilliant, but also flawed.
Behind his fame lay a shadowed private life,
driven by an insatiable appetite for pleasure.
His reputation for womanizing was well known in certain circles. Actresses, showgirls, models, women drawn into his orbit with promises of career help, financial gifts, or simply the allure of his charm.
But one relationship would define his fate: his involvement with a young model and aspiring actress named Evelyn Nesbit.
Evelyn was only 16 when she entered White's world, though in the early 1900s,
the power dynamics of age were rarely questioned. She was breathtakingly beautiful, often described as the most photographed woman in America. White saw her on stage, and soon after,
she found herself welcomed into his gilded salon, a
secret apartment decorated with velvet, silk cushions, and a notorious red velvet swing suspended from the ceiling. It was a place where White entertained young women away from society's watchful eyes.
On one evening, White invited Evelyn to dinner.
She later revealed that she drank champagne, became dizzy, and awoke undressed in his bed.
Whether it was seduction, coercion, or something more sinister has been debated for over a century. But one fact is certain: their relationship became intimate,
and White's influence over her grew.
Years later, Evelyn caught the attention of another man,
Harry Thaw, a Pittsburgh millionaire. Thaw was the heir to a massive coal and railroad fortune.
Unlike White, he was not charming.
He was volatile, insecure, and obsessed with the idea of chivalry and female purity. When he learned of Evelyn's past with White, something inside him snapped. Thaw became consumed with hatred, convinced that White was a predator who had defiled the woman he wanted to marry. Evelyn became trapped between two powerful men, one with charm and influence, the other with wealth and growing madness. Thaw courted Evelyn obsessively, showering her with gifts and demanding she recount every detail
of her past with
Stanford White. She resisted,
fearing his jealousy, but he persisted until she broke. Her confession, truthful or embellished, sent Thaw spiraling into violent rage. In 1905, Harry Thaw and Evelyn married.
But the marriage was not the end, it was merely the prelude to murder. Thaw carried a deep paranoia that White continued to mock him socially, calling him a lunatic,
belittling him with jokes that echoed through New York's elite circles.
Whether White ever truly mocked him remains uncertain, but Thaw was convinced. And when obsession mixes with wealth and instability,
the outcome can be catastrophic. Which brings us to the night of June 25, 1906. Madison Square Garden's rooftop theater glowed beneath the summer sky.
Shows played, music drifted across the warm breeze, and well-dressed couples mingled over cocktails. Stanford White was there, seated at his reserved table, smiling at acquaintances and enjoying the evening.
Unbeknownst to him, Harry Thaw was also there, dressed in black, concealing a .38 caliber pistol in his coat.
He had followed Evelyn and insisted she accompany him, though she sensed something was wrong.
As the show neared its finale, performers danced across the stage.
The crowd clapped.
Laughter drifted across the rooftop. White leaned back in his chair, unaware that death was walking toward him.
Thaw approached slowly, deliberately. Witnesses later said his face looked strangely serene, almost relieved. He stood only feet from White, raised the pistol, and without hesitation,
fired 3 shots directly into Stanford White's face.
White collapsed instantly. The music stopped. The crowd screamed.
At first, Many thought it was part of the show, a theatrical stunt.
But the blood pooling beneath the architect's body made it horrifyingly clear. This was no performance. This was murder. Thor didn't run. Instead, he lifted the pistol above his head and shouted, "I did it for the girl." He believed he had acted as Evelyn's avenger,
Twisted Knight defending his bride's honor. Police arrived quickly, arresting Thor as he calmly surrendered.
Thus began one of the most
sensational trials in American history, a media circus so intense it became known as
the trial of the century.
Newspapers devoured every detail. The wealthy heir,
the famous architect, and the young beauty caught in the middle. The scandal was explosive. The trial exposed the hidden world of New York's elite,
revealing private decadence, secret apartments,
and the vulnerability of young showgirls within a society ruled by powerful men.
Thor's defense claimed he was temporarily insane, a man driven to the brink by White's alleged corruption. Evelyn took the stand,
forced to relive her trauma publicly as reporters described her every gesture.
Some sympathized with her, others condemned her, but she remained, in many ways, the story's most tragic figure.
In the end, the jury declared Thaw not guilty by reason of insanity. He was committed to a psychiatric institution.
Though his wealthy family later secured his release, he lived the rest of his life in relative freedom. Evelyn, however, struggled financially and emotionally, drifting in and out of the spotlight, her beauty fading, her fame turning into a painful reminder of the life she had been forced into. Stanford
White's legacy lived on through his architecture buildings that still shape
New York's skyline, but his reputation was forever shadowed by the scandal that ended his life.
The murder of Stanford White is more than a tale of jealousy.
It's a window into the contradictions of the Gilded Age, grandeur and greed,
beauty and exploitation, genius and madness.
It's a story of a powerful man whose desires consumed him, of a troubled young millionaire whose jealousy erupted into violence,
and of a woman exploited by both left to bear the weight of their choices.
And above all, it remains a haunting reminder that even in an age of elegance and affluence,
darkness lies just beneath the surface. Thank you for watching.
If you found this story shocking and compelling, tap that like button, hit subscribe,
and turn on notifications so you never miss a new deep dive documentary. And as always, tell me in the comments, what case should I cover next?
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay safe.
Thank you.